tuned in to Right Side Radio,
which, whether we like it or not, spells duty. You and I have a rendezvous with destiny.
with Chris McDaniel.
It's a matter of free choice with Christians. If you want to be part of us, we encourage that. We want you to. We pray for your souls, but we're not going to make you.
And Jack Fairchild.
We're only going to wake up and realize that they won't stop the fight. They're going to keep bringing the fight to us. They're going to keep pounding and keep coming after us.
We have come together here because the American people deserve better from those to whom they entrust our nation's highest office.
The website, therightsidehonline.com.
You're listening to Right Side Radio.
Feels like my eyes have been blown wide up. All right, guys, you have found it. It is the second part of the Right Side Radio program. And the phone lines are closed right now because we have a guest in studio. We have Ron Vincent, candidate for the 4th Congressional District, here in studio with us today. Ron, welcome back to the Right Side.
Well, thanks, Jack. It's a pleasure to be here. I appreciate you having me on.
Well, Ron, first off, we've known you for a while, and we've had you on as a guest for various reasons. This is the first time we've had you on as a candidate. First off, I have to ask you, what made you decide to get in this race?
Well, because of the things that are going on in Washington, D.C., they're just plain unsustainable. Right now, we're $16 trillion in debt. That's a number that doesn't fit in a lot of calculators. The CBO figures, the Congressional Budget Office, now says that by the end of this fiscal year, which will be September the 30th, that we will be an additional $1.5 trillion. That's $17.5 trillion in debt. We can't afford that. Everybody says it's unsustainable. Jack, nobody is doing anything about it. And so that's why I'm getting in the race. I'm going to do something. I don't know what it'll be, but I'm going to do something about it. This is not working.
You know, when you hear things about Obama's new budget, and you see things like Republican leaders in the House caving once again, as a candidate, if John Boehner's still the speaker, you know, are you going to be one of those that's going to be at his beck and call, or are you going to be one of those that stands up there and a vocal critic?
No, I'd like to be a team player if I can, but I'm not going to be a member of a team that keeps fumbling the football. You know, I remember the 109th Congress, the do-nothing Congress, and that was the one that people finally got tired of with the Republicans. The Republicans were in total control of the 109th Congress, and they got tired of it. We had a lot of the same problems that we have today, and the do-nothing Congress did nothing. Exactly what's happening today. The 2006 election rolled around, and that brought us Harry Reid, Nancy Pelosi, and ultimately Barack Obama. You know, people, we need to remember the history. This is not working, and we've got to do something differently, Jack.
You know, I know there's frustration, as there is with Lewis and myself, even with the Republican Party. What made you decide to run as a Republican despite the frustrations?
Well, there's only 2 buses in town. As Chris McDaniel said, there's only 2 buses at the station. If you want to leave the station, you got to get on one of the bus. And I ain't going to get on the Democrat bus. I'm not going to be associated with a party that's pro-abortion. And so, you know, the Republican Party, it's just practical. You know, we got to get on the Republican, and I've been a Republican all my life. So that's I think the Republicans probably are doing some things wrong. They need to change some things, and I'm certainly going to voice my opinion when I get to Washington, D.C.
What would you say would be the, because again, I know there's another candidate in there, but you're mainly running against the incumbent in this race. What would you say would be your biggest differential, the biggest difference between you and Stephen Palazzo?
You know, there's so many differences, Jack, I don't really know where to start. To start with, I keep my promises. That's one thing. If I sign a pledge to do something, I'm going to do it. And I'm going to represent the people of South Mississippi, and I think that Stephen Palazzo has done a bad job. But listen, I'm all over the 4th District, talking to people every day, and that's one of the biggest complaints I hear, is that he is not answering his phone calls. He's not listening to them when they speak. He's voted on a lot of bills that were strongly opposed by the people in South Mississippi, and he unapologetically voted for them. The people in South Mississippi need a voice in Washington, D.C. They don't have one now.
You know, you look at some of the things facing this country in the future, and I think one of the biggest things overwhelming right now is Obamacare, and we know what type of headaches that's going to cause. if elected, and assuming, again, I know we're all hoping for a new president, but assuming Obama's still in office, I know that's a nightmare that we don't want, but assuming he's still in office, what's going to be one of the steps, and the Republicans still hold control of the House, what are going to be one of the steps as a member of the House that you would take to try to ensure that we as American citizens don't have to suffer through the unconstitutional law that is Obamacare?
You know, Jack, the House of Representatives is not only the largest governmental body in Washington, D.C., they're the most powerful. And the reason they're the most powerful is because they control the money. If the House of Representatives decides they want to make some changes, by golly, they've got the power to do it. Now, right under with the current speaker, they don't have the political will to do it. And they keep caving in to Obama and giving in to him and giving in to his threats. And, you know, I'm going to do the best I can to convince them, listen, this is not working, guys. We've got to do something differently. And we can't go along to get along. This is not going to happen. We've got to drag our feet, dig in, and do whatever it is we've got to stop it. If it means shutting the government down, so be it. It's a lot better to shut the government down than shut the economy down, and that's where we're going.
You know, one of the things, and I've heard you say it a few times on different campaign stumps, you're a fan of term limits, and you believe strongly that we need our government to come home after a certain amount of time.
Absolutely, because too many people are up there. They're up there trying to get reelected, and I'm a big believer in term limits. In fact, if I'm elected, I will be up there 2 terms max, 4 years, and I'm coming to the House. I love South Mississippi. I want to go back into retirement, but 2 terms is all I'm going to be there, and that's it. I'm out. And I think that's the way it would be. We need to go back to the idea of citizen legislators. That's the way it was Congress was originally set up. We badly need to go back there. Now, we've got professional politicians up there running the show, and you see what's happening.
You know, one of the things, too, and you don't fear that coming out now and saying I'm only going to be 2 terms, that might, you know, again, the Democrats know in 4 years we've got a shot at the seat. You don't think that could cause an issue or anything like that? There's no concern for coming out and just flat out saying 4 years, that's it.
Jack, I really hope that in the 4 years we can get somebody else to step up and do something. Mm-hmm. This is not a career move for me. I'm doing it because it needs to be done. Somebody has to do something. Jack, we deserve better than what we've got right now, and that's my whole reason.
You know, let's say that again, you go up there and you know you see a lot of things that you like, but at the same time, the same leadership's still in power, and say it's something like the president's budget, and they've reached a compromise. But that compromise is something that you know the 4th District is screaming loudly against. What's more important to you, I guess, is the answer. Is it the leadership, or is it the constituents back home in the 4th Congressional District?
The constituents are by far more important to me. For example, most of the people across South Mississippi are not in favor of federal funding for abortions. And I will not vote for a budget regardless if it has funding for abortion in it, and Planned Parenthood funding and this kind of thing. And that's why I'm going up there, to represent the people, not the party.
You know, one of the other things that we see at constant time, Democrats are tricky. They hide certain things or they place certain things in, like military spending bills and things like that they know that if a staunch conservative votes against, he'll get pounded over the head. If something like that happens, how would you combat that? Because again, not being willing to vote for it, how would you combat that?
I will go to the leadership and explain the position and say, listen, my people will not support this, and as long as this is in there, I'm not going to vote for it. You see, that's the problem. That is another thing that is disingenuous at best about some of these bills in Congress. We need single subject legislation. We don't need one 2,000-page bill. We need 2,000 one-page bills so we can cast honest votes on this. The Democrats have been using this trick for years, hiding stuff in good bills that we wouldn't vote for otherwise, and that needs to stop.
As you've been out on the campaign trail, again, you've seen stories that are reporting that says that your opponent doesn't have much opposition and that he's very popular. Are you seeing that? Because I'm not hearing the same.
No, I'm certainly not saying that he's very popular. I mean, he is his negatives across the 4th District, in my opinion, and my talking to the people, are extremely high. And there are people out there that are working hard just to defeat him, not necessarily to support me. And that's just it's amazing. And I hear story after story after story, and not just in the Tea Party, but in the Republican clubs and the Republican Executive Committee. And there are people out there that are really angry at the way our current congressman has behaved himself.
You know, one of the things too that as we watch up there, there is a seductive feel to Washington. What would you do to try to limit yourself from that type of pull, especially when you're up there as often as you'll have to be up there?
Well, I'm going up there to do a job, and I will stay focused on that job. I'm not a party person. I have no interest in attending those Washington parties. I have no interest in attending or taking any trips offered by any lobbying firms. I'm up there to do a job. I'm going to do the job, and I'm going to keep the people in South Mississippi informed about what's going on. Another thing I will do is that our current congressman is not doing. I will have town hall meetings across the district, asking the people, how do you want me to vote? I will have at least one town hall meeting every month across the entire every county in the fourth district, asking people, how do you want me to vote? And explaining to them what's going on in Washington, D.C.
Different counties every month, not one in every county.
Well, you're right. I misspoken.
I just wanted to make sure before somebody... I figured that's what you meant, so I just wanted to give you a chance to clarify.
Thank you,
again, as we look down at the budget problems that we're going to face, and we see things like the president making these dramatic cuts to military spending, that's the one place that the federal government actually has a right to spend at. What would you do to try to curtail some of that?
Well, this is a ridiculous idea to think that we have to engage in unilateral disarmament just because we cannot figure out any other places to cut spending. I've got some great places we can cut spending. How about the Environmental Protection Agency? What do we need that for? Listen, don't say I'm not an environmentalist. Don't say I'm for dirty water and dirty air. Listen, I'm for a pristine environment and clean air and clean water as much as anybody else. The problem is with the EPA, they're doing nothing to protect the environment. They're doing so much to destroy the economy. This is not working. They just need to go away. So somebody needs us. The economy is too important to allow it to be left up to a bunch of bureaucrats like that.
Ron, we're almost out of time, but real quick, tell everyone when the primary is, so that way for our listeners that don't know, they know when they can get out to vote.
The primary is Tuesday, March 13th, and I hope everybody will go out and vote, and I would appreciate your vote and your consideration.
Ron, we appreciate you taking the time to be with us today, and we appreciate you for coming in, and just we wish you luck. All right, guys, again, that's going to be on March 13th. That's going to be the Mississippi primary. Also on the ballot will be where we determine our presidential nomination. So a lot of good stuff on that one, so you definitely want to get out and vote on that day. This is the Right Side Radio program. We'll be right back.